Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are totally pulling back the curtain on this massive, invisible web that literally connects almost every single thing we own, eat, or use on a daily basis. We're talking about the mechanics of global trade. It is this incredibly intricately designed system that just never sleeps, and honestly, it's what keeps our modern world ticking. So let's dive right in and see how the gears of the global economy actually turn.
To really grasp the stakes here, try a quick thought experiment with me. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, rolling out of bed, and suddenly finding out that certain things have just vanished from the planet. You reach for your phone? Gone, because it was assembled in China. Craving a treat? No Swiss chocolate for you. Your favorite French perfumes? Disappeared. Those rich Indian spices in your pantry? Poof, just gone. It sounds like a pretty terrifying sci-fi movie, right? But it perfectly highlights the reality of our interconnected lives. We rely so heavily on the rest of the world for our daily comforts, and that reliance is entirely built on two very simple concepts: import and export.
Let's lay our foundation first, starting with the demand side, which is importing. Fundamentally, an import is just bringing foreign goods or services into our domestic market. But it's not just about, getting cool stuff from far away. Countries import for strategic reasons. Actually, it really comes down to three main things. It's either cheaper, the foreign quality is better, or it's simply to bridge a gap because the product just isn't available locally. And then you have the exact flip side of that equation, exporting. This is selling our domestic products out to international markets. You see, every nation has some sort of competitive edge. Maybe that's a rare natural resource, highly specialized manufacturing, or just an ideal climate for agriculture. When a country takes those local strengths and scales them up to meet global demand, well, that is exporting in action. To really see this in practice, let's look at a real-world heavyweight, India. On one hand, India is a massive importer of things like crude oil and intricate electronics. They're bringing in what they lack or what they want to upgrade. But on the other hand, they balance the scales by exporting what they excel at globally. We're talking world-class tea, rice, pharmaceuticals, and cutting-edge software services. When someone in Europe is using Indian-developed medical tech, that's India's export engine hard at work. Now, looking at all those goods crossing oceans, you might still be sitting there wondering, why? Why do countries even do this? Why not just hunker down, build a ton of factories, plant more farms, and try to make absolutely everything right at home to be completely self-sufficient? It's a totally fair question, but the answer is rooted in a very simple concept of efficiency. Think about it like a neighborhood food exchange. Imagine you make the absolute best, most mouth-watering pizza on the block. But your friend next door? They make these incredible gourmet burgers. Now, you could try to learn how to make burgers yourself, buy all the specific ingredients, get a new grill, spend hours practicing. And your friend could go out and buy a massive pizza oven to try and replicate your pizza. You'd both be struggling, spending way too much time and money, and let's be honest, the results probably wouldn't be as good. Or instead of both of you struggling to make everything, you just swap. You trade some of your amazing pizza for some of their great burgers. Boom, everyone wins. Less work, lower cost, and you both get to enjoy a fantastic meal. Well, countries operate on that exact same logic. On a macro level, nations trade products and services to achieve those exact same efficiencies. It saves capital, elevates the quality of consumer goods, and lets them acquire resources they simply couldn't generate efficiently at home, whether that's due to climate or just technological limits. When we break down those distinct economic advantages, a really clear division emerges. Importing fundamentally upgrades the everyday life of the consumer. It gives us wider choices and way faster access to global technology. Exporting, meanwhile, acts as the economic engine. Selling globally allows local businesses to scale way beyond their domestic borders. It creates jobs and injects foreign capital directly into the local economy. Okay, so the theory is absolutely sound. We know what it is and why it happens, but how does a giant container of spices or a massive shipment of smartphones actually get from point A to point B? Especially when we're talking about tens of millions of shipping containers moving across the oceans every single day. Let's pivot to the physical mechanics of trade and look at the step-by-step logistics process, because honestly, it's like a beautifully choreographed global dance. Here is the actual life cycle of an international deal. It all kicks off with a company targeting a specific product and literally reaching across the globe to secure a foreign partner. Once the price and the shipping details are locked in, the goods are packed and loaded onto the massive arteries of global transport. We're talking cargo ships, planes, or freight trains. They make their way toward the critical border checkpoint before finally reaching the buyer, clearing the payment and completing the whole cycle.
Let's zoom in on that border checkpoint phase for a second, because moving goods internationally isn't as simple as just dropping a package in the mail. No way. It requires a mountain of crucial paperwork. Before those goods can freely enter a new country, important documents like commercial invoices, specific trade licenses, and incredibly detailed customs papers have to be perfectly prepared. At the border, customs officers meticulously check the goods against all this paperwork, and their job is absolutely vital. They have to make sure everything entering their country is completely legal, properly taxed, and above all else, safe for the public.
I know, it sounds like a ton of work, right? And honestly, it really is. While this system helps millions of products move smoothly across the world every single day, it's definitely not without its friction. International commerce faces some very real, persistent challenges. Tariffs and taxes can suddenly make goods way more expensive. Transportation costs fluctuate wildly depending on fuel prices. And of course, there are the inevitable delays. Bad weather, port congestion, or even just a simple paperwork error can leave goods stranded at sea for weeks. But even with those problems, the taxes, the costs, the occasional supply chain headaches, the payoff is absolutely undeniable. Put simply, importing and exporting are really just countries helping each other out by buying and selling the products they excel at making. And it's this exact system of international trade that keeps our incredibly diverse world tied together and deeply connected. Which brings us right back to our opening thought. Think again about a world where every single country only consumed what it could make within its own borders. Sure, the world would be a lot less economically connected, but honestly, it would probably be a whole lot more boring too. The amazing variety, the flavors, and the incredible innovations we enjoy every single day are the direct result of this massive global exchange. So the next time you pick up your phone or take a bite of that imported chocolate, just take a second to appreciate the massive, invisible mechanics of global trade that brought it right to your hands. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep staying curious.